Hello and welcome to Old Tunes Fresh Takes. This is the podcast where we learn old tunes, record fresh takes of them, and encourage you to do the same.
This is for absolutely all musicians of any style or ability, so whether you've got access to a military choir or just a sample pack of cat noises, we want to hear from you. We don't care if your version is recorded in Abbey Road or on your phone, we just want to hear it.
And you certainly don't have to consider yourself a folk musician. We're especially keen to hear from people who could change these folk songs into something completely different, have an entirely fresh take on them.
And if you want to take part, then go and check out our Facebook, Twitter and SoundCloud pages to get a full list of the songs that we're working on. This includes scores, chord sheets and versions that we like. Links to these can be found in the description of this episode. Remember to follow, like and subscribe so that you can stay up to date with absolutely everything going on.
We're really keen to hear from anyone who's thinking about contributing. We'll always reply to messages, and we just want to make submission as easy as possible. So whatever stage you're at, if you're looking for a bit of feedback and advice, get in touch and we'll be happy to help.
We've had loads of great submissions this month from contributors including Asymptotes, Catapholc, Stuart Clark, the Goodnight Mistress, Cerys Hafana, Ian Jackson, Hope House Assemble, John Paiva, Henry Parker, Pomegranate Jones and Winters, SMOPH and Twouke folks and the Wonky Blokes. We'll be playing a clip from each as we discuss them, and if you'd like to listen along to the full takes with us, there's a link to the playlist in the description of this episode.
I'm Jack the Robot.
And I'm Tim Woodson, and this month we're looking at the Brisk Lad. Jack, you've chosen the Brisk Lad.
Yeah, so just as a reminder, this is a song that is sort of a story, but actually it's more of a character portrait. It's sort of telling the tale of this guy who's stealing sheep from the first person. And it does tell the story of how he's going to do that and why he's going to do that. He's going to feed his family. Have you had any further thoughts about this song this month?
Yeah, because I reflected last time that this felt quite far from my experience.
Yeah.
And as I've worked on it, I felt more and more of a kinship with the Brisk Lad out on the moors. I think a lot of people seem to have actually played it quite straight as well on the takes as well.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that anyone has compromised their approach, but they have definitely, I think people have sort of taken the material, more than any of the others, taken the material as it is and just captured a version of that, and I think we'll maybe discuss why.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to hear a little bit of yours now, but I think it's really important to mention that you've done this as a video, as a performance art piece, haven't you?
Yeah, so this is a collaboration with my partner Kylie Kamanga. We go under the name JK. We've been doing live art for the last sort of year or so. Anyway, I'll talk more about that, but we'll listen to a bit of the music now.
Right, so what have we just seen then?
Okay, well, you haven't seen anything because we're listening to a podcast, but if you were to go and watch the video, yeah, heads up, this isn't in the playlist. I haven't released the audio. For me, this is a film piece. The audio is only meant as an accompaniment to the video. So yeah, as I said, this is JK. This is a live art duo. It's sort of intended as a stark representation of ourselves. You know, it's a stark representation of a character, this song, and yeah, it's we walk towards the camera, we stand and look at the camera as the final verse is sung, and then we walk off camera, and the music is sort of naked in a way to accompany that.
The music is it's really sparse for the first sort of 3/4 of the piece, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you just get this verse. So tell us about that a little bit.
So the music, it's just a piano. The opening sound I'm really proud of. Just that first sound you hear is it was a sort of an accident, as the best things always are. I put my foot down on the sustain pedal, and that's the sound I got, and the sort of ringing of the sort of resonance, natural resonance of the piano ringing out.
Right.
And then it's just a single playing through of the melody. So I got to credit Catapholc, of course, who was the first one on our podcast to say, I'm just going to play the melody once, and that's what you're going to get.
Yeah, and I'm going to take my time.
Yeah. Nothing's above middle C. You know, I don't play very much above middle C. And crunchy chords, because the melody often goes to the G natural. And I think I had an instinct to put an E dominant 7 in, so it's got the G sharp in that chord, and I just wanted to get that conflict between there being a G sharp in the bass and a G in the upper octave.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a chord that I'm leaning into quite a lot just to get that real dissonance there.
Yeah.
But it's just a piano part. There's some birds tweeting in the background, which was just happening outside the window.
Really nice.
And then I put it through a really heavy tape emulation on the computer. It's a FabFilter plugin, and
Right. Okay.
and then we sing it. Took us a while to think what verse we wanted to sing, but I guess we just settled on the last one because that's where it's obvious that it's food.
Right.
It's not just the stealing of a sheep. They're doing it to sustain themselves.
Yeah.
It was a shame to discard the other verses, but I think we had to do it as it was. The other alteration we made to the lyrics, of course, is we say "my love"
Yeah.
instead of "my brave boys," because I wonder who are the brave boys.
Okay.
Because we couldn't decide, and that's why we went with "my love." Have you got a theory?
My take on that was just he's having a brag down the pub.
That was my take, but Kylie said they're his children.
Right.
He's comforting his children that it's going to be all right. You're going to be brave boys,
right,
and this is going to happen.
I thought it gave you a bit of a Bonnie and Clyde vibe, as if it's almost like you're there on the Stark moor, the Stark arrangement, and you have each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a presentation of us. Yeah, it felt appropriate to make that change.
Yeah. Tell me about what you're wearing.
We're both wearing high-vis jackets and tights. Tights because it's the theatre, that makes sense, right? And high-vis jackets because we like to be seen.
Right.
Read into it what you will.
Right.
Tell me what it is.
That is the point, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
What I really like about this is the sound of that piano.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It's really nice to have an actual piano.
Well, and with what I've done with it, it would never fit into a mix.
Right, yeah.
It was really nice to be able to just work with this piano and make, because I would never be able to present that piano as part of a more dense mix. It just wouldn't fit in, it wouldn't stand out. But with it just being like itself, then I could really make it dark and bring out all those low frequencies and the dissonances and the wavering notes.
Yeah, and you get all the noise from the your foot noise hitting on the pedal. You know, that's really, really powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Should we have a listen to a little bit more?
Yeah. I'd like that.
I'd like that too.
Cool, yeah, that was fun anyway. What about yours then? Should we have a little listen?
Great, yeah.
But in the middle of the night, when the moon it shines bright, there's a number of jobs to be done, my brave boys. There's a number of jobs to be done.
Cool. So this is great. I love it. Before I allow you to start talking about it, I feel like you've hit on something that I've been trying to do for a really long time.
What's that? What have you been trying?
Something I've been thinking about for a long time is how would you put folk songs, traditional songs, in the boiler room? Boiler room sets you can watch them on YouTube, and it's dance and electronic music usually. But I've always been thinking, how can you get these songs into that sort of setting? And I think you're achieving it, and it's something I've been reaching for a while. So go on, Bill. I'll let you talk about it. What was your journey with it?
I spent a few evenings watching the Star Wars films. I just thought there's just some great noises in there. So I set about on Ableton trying to come up with the most Star Warsy effect sounding synth patch that I could.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the sound of it. So I thought that's going to be my core sound for this to start with.
Right.
So the first thing you hear is this kind of fading in. I feel the tune and the kind of the chords, the way it works, it's got that semitone note there. Na, 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 na,
Yeah,
na, na.
yeah.
It's got a really somber kind of minor feel to it, and I really feel like I wanted to just lean into that as much as possible.
Yeah.
I've also got some wind noises in there, which this is using the Echo plugin on Ableton. You can use that as a noise generator.
Right, okay.
I've got 2 of those running and kind of sweeping around. I wanted to get the sounds of them more,
Okay.
Yeah. Another thing as well is in the last episode we had the take from Johnny Black where he'd recorded it on his laptop.
Oh yeah.
I really liked the sound of his vocals on that.
Yeah.
I thought that really added something. So I initially started off trying it on my laptop. Couldn't get close.
Right.
I don't know what he was doing, but fair play. I couldn't get close with my laptop mic. So I then recorded it in with a proper mic, and then gradually as it comes in, it's fairly normal. But then I kind of put a high pass filter on it to take out the bottom end.
Does the cutoff frequency of that high pass filter move?
I don't know. I can't remember. It might be. I think you get a bit of odd interference when the second vocal comes in, and I don't quite know. It might be a bit of phasing, possibly.
Yeah, it makes it feel alive. It's got that movement. I think that's cool.
Yeah. Influenced by your Bitter Withy.
Oh yeah, cool.
I wanted some nice organ sounds.
Yeah. Did you use the
It's not the town hall organ. I'm sorry. I'll get round to it. But
yeah. I think what I really like about that organ is at the time it becomes audible, it doesn't settle.
So here's what you've got tonally.
Go on.
I start off with you've just got a drone note. Again, I've been loving the drone stuff that people have been doing.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep it in the whole way because of that extra chord. I had to kind of change the note a little bit. So it's a Lydian mode.
Okay.
For the first bit, and then I switched to Dorian
Cool.
a little bit later.
That's quite a switch.
It's quite a switch, going from a kind of altered major to an altered minor kind of.
Yeah.
Again, I wanted to get steadily darker. I like the idea of these Lydian drones kind of going all the way, but then I just felt like I needed to have something darker in there. But a Dorian doesn't go all the way dark.
Yeah, for sure. That major 6 keeps it light.
Keeps it light. Keeps it friendly. Yeah.
Keeps it approachable. Would you describe this track as approachable, Tim?
Well, I guess I was having a chat with a couple of friends of mine who've heard quite a bit of my stuff before, and they were saying, well, it's not like your other ones, is it? Not really you. I thought, I've kind of transitioned quite far away from the kind of acoustic project that I envisioned when I started.
Hey, if that's your response to this track, and starting from a place of sound design, it's gonna push you in a different direction, isn't it?
Well, that's the whole point, isn't it? Yeah, it's finding sounds that you're interested in and just running with them.
Yeah. So it seems like every month I've got to push you to talk about the drums, Tim, because obviously.
Oh yeah, the drums. Yeah. I think this is when it really kind of gets down to it.
It's the drop. Yeah.
It's the drop. Yeah. But it's like, it's never quite satisfying.
You might describe it as sort of skittering.
Juddering and kind of...
like some old piece of farmyard machinery sort of trying to get into life.
It's exactly that sound, that mechanical sound I was trying to capture. Like a tractor with a bit of a, massive spanner stuck in its... I don't know how tractors work.
Right, yeah. But this is for me where it starts to sound like someone like Holly Herndon or Aisha Devi, Katie Gately.
I've got to say Asymptotes as well, actually. Have pushed me there.
Absolutely,
by the end, I wanted this to just be really overwhelming.
Punches you in the face, doesn't it? Yeah.
I think I've done it. I'm really happy with this one.
Good.
I might alienate most of my fan base with it, but
this is like your Jesus.
Yes. Yes. So keep up.
Good. Well, we're all on journeys here. But anyway, I think it's brilliant. I think the vocal delivery is really good. We haven't even touched on that, but the husky, menacing vibe that you've got out of this is just brilliant. Let's listen to a bit more.
My brave boys, I will carry it home on my back, and the children shall pull the skin from the
Yeah, okay, pats on the back all round, aren't we great? Should we talk about some other people's tunes?
Please, yeah.
Cool, so first in, as always, is Ian Jackson. Should we have a little listen?
Yeah, sounds great.
Daddy, we're so hungry, what are you going to do? Daddy, how will you feed us and make us happy too? I've never lied, I've never cried, I've never scoffed or moaned, I've never owned a pig or cow, a horse I've never rode. Daddy, we're so hungry, what are you going to do?
Cool, Ian Jackson. Just a reminder while we're here, all of these tracks are in full on the playlist on our SoundCloud account. There's a link to this to the playlist in the description below, so go and have a listen to the full tracks. Ian, he's come back with another. It's very stylistic of him. He's got a bit of a drone going on there. We're starting to hear more of this from Ian, sort of double tracking. I really like the double tracking of the kids' vocals.
Right, yeah.
That it's slightly out of sync as well. I was doing that last month. On Edward, I was having those out of sync vocals. Which I really like here.
Yeah. He's done it as another sort of partial rewrite. I say partial rewrite. He's taken the same theme and completely rewritten it.
Yeah.
But he's definitely leaned into this dynamic of the starving children, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's something about when the father's voice comes in, it's that reassuring thing. So maybe he also has assumed that the brave boys are the boys, and the father is saying,
yeah,
look, don't worry about this, kids. I'm gonna swear all I have is my own. He's actually still got a very similar line to that in there.
Yeah. What I think's different from this than I'd sort of assumed about this, because I assumed, and I think you mentioned this last time, that he's a bit of a lad. This guy, not Ian. I mean, I don't know if he is, but the protagonist of this one.
Ian's a right lad. Boys will be boys.
Right
will
lad.
Ian.
So he's a bit of a lad, and so Ian starts this one off with a bit of a kind of a defense. I never stole. I've never owned a horse, or I've never owned this kind of thing, and I've never stolen anything. So it's almost like being driven to this through poverty.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think he's really captured that in these lyrics.
It captured the subtext of the song, which a lot of us have picked up on, but it's not explicitly there in the lyrics.
No.
But that's it. It's the starving family at the centre, and that chorus of double-tracked vocals, I think, evokes that really well.
Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah. Cool. So up next, we've got Asymptotes. Let's have a quick listen. So Asymptotes here.
This is a cool track.
It's cool, isn't it? Yeah. It is similar to yours. It's funny listening to. I'm like, oh yeah, that's where you got those drums from.
So this is Pull the Skin, drawing on a theme from the Brisk Lad, but really taking it off in another direction. So this is about reclaiming a sense of self.
It's like a William Burroughs-esque cut and paste approach to the lyrics.
Oh yeah, sure.
So that's what Asymptotes has done here, is cut and paste the lyrics to evoke themes that she is more interested in.
Yeah. Vocal synth. Sounds great, right?
Really lovely voice.
Sorry, you've got that's all synthesized, right?
Oh man, that sounds really good.
I know. Yeah.
Right, okay. Well, we'll leave this realization in as well. Because that is crazy. I totally thought that was her singing.
Yeah. So this is, she's pointed out, this is the Dream Tonics synthesizer V. And so
I'm going to get that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think it's quite cheap.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. It sounds like perfectly natural vocals that have been kind of distorted in a really appropriate way. So I think it really fits with this track.
Brilliant, yeah. She says here, the theme is about reclaiming my sense of self and making my body something I can love. And there is latent in this tune something about self-pride.
Yeah, I feel like this is a really nice development of how, given the kind of nature of this project, I think it's totally a really excellent use of this tune to take something quite obscure from the past, and quite obscure and gritty, and turn it into something really personal and really relevant.
Yeah. Deep stuff.
Influenced
by Nedry and Submotion Orchestra. I certainly hear the Nedry in there. I remember I bought that record on vinyl. I don't know if they've done more than one, but that first record they did, I bought that on vinyl when I was in uni. I rinsed it, so I definitely picking up on the Nedry in there. Go check out Nedry if you like this. Brilliant stuff. Cool. Next up is Henry Parker. Let's have a listen.
For it's our roam around some other man's ground. take a fat you from hell's pack. And with the aid of my knife I will shorten its life and carry it home on my back, my brave boys. Yes, I'll carry it home on my back.
So this is really nice, isn't it?
Yeah, proper folk take.
There's definitely some other stuff in there as well. Like, it's got quite a kind of metal tinged kind of.
Yeah, it's quite.
Almost.
I really like. There's a point around the 3-minute mark where he just jams a chord. It might be even a power chord or something. Da 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 da, and it's like whoa, that gets you out of your seat, doesn't it?
yeah, but it's lovely. He got in touch with us to say he's got this arrangement ready for an LP that he's recording. He's already had this ready. So when he saw that we were doing this tune, he wanted to do a quick demo for us.
Right. Okay.
So that's where that comes from. On his last LP, he's got a track of an instrumental version of Willie of Winsbury, which I almost picked for this.
Oh, really? I've never heard of that song.
Yeah. So that's really nice as well. Definitely go check that out if you enjoyed this tune.
Yeah.
I think, he's done a really good job. This is like a live looping situation, isn't it?
Yeah, okay, so he's used an open tuning, dadgad. I really like that you can hear the loop pedal going in the background. We were both saying as we were listening to it, you get that click, click.
He's talked about using his distortion and reverb to build up a windy kind of windswept more.
I went back to him and had to ask what the distortion was. And for anyone who's wondering, it's a Maxon OD808 overdrive pedal with the distortion turned right down to the minimum. So it's just got that bit of grit, which I think is a lovely tone. So he's used that distortion coupled with a swirling reverb / delay, he says, aiming to conjure up imagery of a rainy and windswept moor. Yeah, it's good. It feels spacious. It does. Yeah.
It does. And it's really lovely at the end. There's a kind of instrumental guitar solo type thing, which, do you know what? I haven't heard anyone, going for a proper noodle in a while.
Yeah, well, there's a couple in this playlist, though, isn't there? But this is our first. This is our first hit of it. This is also the first track in the playlist where we've got a really great photo of the moor accompanying the track. Which there's a few in here which has just got these really gloomy moor pictures, which I love.
People have really dug out their sheep photos as well, myself included.
We did it in the video, footage of sheep.
People have gone very literal on this one, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, song speaks for itself.
Yeah, great.
Anyway, Catapholc, Brisk Japanese Lad. Let's have a listen, shall we?
Yeah. So this is Catapholc's shortest take yet.
Oh, I hadn't even spotted that.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
I mean, it's no less roomy, I'd say.
Yeah.
And this is the Brisk Japanese Lad. I think that's a reference to the kind of mode he's been using. It's a really interesting sound, actually.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you get some notes you're totally not expecting. You can recognise the melody if you know it well.
Yeah. But this is another one that you'd happily bathe in for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And filmic again.
Yep.
I mean, you were just saying there's a video game you've heard something similar in. I could totally picture the scenes this is used to, yeah.
Yeah, his process is pretty interesting on this as well.
Yeah, I really respect Catapholc because every time he sends us his full effects chain, which is great. It's brilliant. Because I do like to know, like I said with Henry Parker, I had to go back and ask the distortion. I don't have that worry with Catapholc. I know exactly what pedals he's using.
Right, yeah.
Great.
So he's actually used a DFX9 to create that bass note, that repeating, pulsing bass kind of note.
So that's a delay pedal. So he says he plays a higher note and then got the delay going and then slowed the delay time. It drops the pitch.
I might have to get mine out and have a play with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, do it. It's as simple as it sounds. I really like work. You said it's roomy. It's about working the space between the lines of melody, isn't it? Between the melodic phrases. It's something I really like about this song. I found this as well in some of my earlier takes. Is like you can get to the end of a line and leave quite a long gap before you pick up the next.
I guess that's why a lot of the versions that we picked out beforehand were a cappella.
Right. Yeah.
And I think there's something that lends itself to that as well. So I think seeing how that's translated into takes like this, where you've got just one note, it's just got one note in the bass and then a kind of octave melody line. which is doing all the harmonic work as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Despite having that very strict dung 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 dung, there is no strict meter to the way the melody is working. Really nice contrast.
So coming up next, we have Pomegranate Jones and Winters. They're back again.
Great.
Let's have a listen.
And the children shall pull the skin from the wound, carving up to the bone. When the constable comes, I'll stand with my gun and I'll swear.
Okay, so at this point, are we really sure whether Pomegranate Jones and Winters are separate people? They had implied that, hadn't they? But this track is by Pomegranate Winters Jones. So I'm just suggesting that who knows?
Wow, I mean, isn't that not part of their mystique?
I mean, they've definitely got a mystique.
Yeah. That and, creative punctuation, I think,
Yeah.
really feeds that aura.
Yeah.
This is an interesting take for them.
Yeah.
And I've said, like I've said, quite a few people have played this one relatively straight ahead.
Yeah.
And compared to their usual collage approach, this is quite stripped back.
Yeah.
I really like it. I really like the soft vocals. That's the thing that I try and put into my tunes as well. But that again, like that's that sort of soft background menace.
Yeah.
They really captured that.
Yeah, and also with just sort of touches of backing vocals. There's not a backing vocal all the way through, and sometimes it's harmonizing. There's towards the end there's an octave. There's clearly been pitch shift an octave down the vocals, and I think that's really nice.
Yeah.
Just adding color on certain words and certain lines is cool.
Yeah, and you get that sort of death rattle kind of sounds
Yeah,
occasionally. Yeah, I really like the sounds they've used at the start. They've often got these kind of sort of distorted or warped sounding patches, and that's what they're using on this one.
Yeah. Also, all that slightly abstract sound design, but countered by a very sweet playing of the melody on something that sounds like, it sounds like a lute, but I don't know what it is,
Right, yeah. No, it's great. Really effective, simple take from them.
Cool. Next up, we've got Cerys Hafana back with a Welsh tune in the Welsh language. We'll have a little listen to that now.
So this is an interesting approach, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is a Welsh tune that she's taken. It's called Doing Defied, I believe.
Yes. Yep.
Close enough.
Good pronunciation. Yeah.
Thanks. I mean, you wouldn't know. Apparently, it translates as stealing sheep.
Yeah.
So this is a tune, an existing tune in Welsh that she has put to the tune of Brisk Lad. I really like the sound of this with some Welsh lyrics.
It's lovely, and it comes in the context of this week. I don't know if you've seen, but people have been tweeting about the Gaelic crisis, and they're really worried about the loss of the Scottish language, Scottish Gaelic. But obviously Welsh is still going strong, and it's great to hear people still singing in these languages of the British Isles.
Yeah. So this is the closest tune that she could find in that tradition. She was looking for one that would reflect a kind of common law phenomenon in the Welsh tradition called Tai Unos. Apparently, if you can build a house on common land in a night, then you get to keep the house, basically.
Yeah.
And as far as you can throw an axe from your doorstep is where your land will be around the house.
I wonder if that is what they're talking about when he says, I'm going to build a house down on the moor. I wonder if he is talking about taking advantage of this tradition. The song was collected in Dorset. It's not that far from the Welsh border. And this could have been a piece of common law that was practiced in England as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I love about Cerys' take here is she's gone away and done quite a lot of research and really owned it as a Welsh tune.
Yeah, I love the arrangement of it as well. Actually, it's quite pared back compared to some of the other ones that we've had in previous episodes.
Yeah,
it reminds me actually a bit of there's an Icelandic group called Rockuro.
Okay,
probably saying that wrong as well, but it actually reminds me in terms of tone and spirit. It's kind of a bit like that. But Cerys has got this really beautiful way of this kind of percussive style.
Yeah, well, pushed forward by that lovely mini piano again, which was featured in her take on the Bitter Withy as well. It's lovely plinky sound. that, but it's got that rhythmic element.
Yeah. But she's backed it with a distorted guitar, which sounds great.
It sounds really cool, yeah.
She said she started off doing a version which was much more trad and folky, but didn't really suit the song. So what she's gone for, I feel, has really worked well.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got a take from the Goodnight Mistress. Let's give that a listen.
Yeah, so the Goodnight Mistress, it's very moody.
Yeah.
So this is interesting, actually. I had a little chat with him, and I guess sticking on the Welsh theme to a certain extent, he was saying he started working on this when he was still at his home in Bristol, and then he went to stay with some family out in Wales, and thus had none of his equipment with him. And I think he thought he wouldn't actually finish anything off because he just had a chance to sort of play the melody in. And then ever since then, he's just been, I guess, sat with a trackpad, on his laptop, tweaking effects and things like that, which is really interesting because it's really effective.
Yeah, no, I think considering he's done a really great job. It's quite a subdued atmosphere, but yet there's really a lot of interesting features there. I can see some similarities of approaches in the way I've done it as well, and some of these kind of atmospheric sound effects kind of diving up and down. He said he's tried to capture the moors again, the bleak moors. I think everyone's been sort of captivated by these potential bleak moors,
Windy, yeah, it's the windiness of it, isn't it? Yeah. Swirling textures.
Coupled with the defiance of the of the lad.
The instrument that's playing that central melody, I think it's actually a piano.
Right.
It gives me medieval vibes, which I don't know at all if that's what he was going for. I guess the tune in itself, it has a sort of medieval.
Yeah, I guess so. A little sort of chant-esque.
But that instrument, it is like, it reminds me of sort of medieval bass instruments.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm getting that now.
Is there something called a theorbo?
Sure.
That is what
that
I'm
rings a
thinking
bell.
of. Yeah, it's a theorbo. You'll have to take my word for it.
Yeah, I know, you will, yeah.
I really respect a man who can do a proper fade out on the end of his track. I'm always feeling like, they're going to get bored if I leave it more than 5 seconds. I got to fade
right,
out.
Yeah.
To get to the next
but no,
track.
you got to stay the course. Yeah.
There's a good 20 to 25 seconds after the sort of melody is done where it's 30 seconds. Yeah, and you really feel like you're left cold on the moor at the end there. I think it's really good.
Right.
Cool. Stuart Clark's back with another one. It's quite different. Let's have a listen.
And the children shall pull the skin from the wool, and I'll carve him up down to the bone. And when the constable comes, I will stand with my gun, and I swear all I have is mine. Oh, my brave boys, I will swear all I have is.
Great, so Stuart Clark has hit us up with a fairly soul-tinged, kind of jazzy ballad arrangement of the Brisk Lad. He calls it a very Brisk Lad.
Yeah, it's great.
Clocking in at under 2 minutes. That is pretty brisk.
Yeah.
Only Ian Jackson's was more brisk.
Yeah. But a few people have been shorter. Actually, I forgot to mention Pomegranate Jones was the shortest one they've done.
Yep, that's true. Yeah.
Anyway, Stuart Clark. Yeah, it is swinging. It is soulful. I think the vocal delivery is almost a bit drunk in places. Like it's sort of, it's like it's falling about with the, maybe in his interpretation, the brave boys are in the pub and he is sort of living it up,
Right, yeah.
Bragging.
Well, he does hit on that line, does lean on that line pretty hard, doesn't he?
Yeah,
My Brave
yeah,
Boys.
Yeah, it gets a lot of airtime. Is it the first My Brave Boys where he really, it's on the moor. Yeah, in that first delivery of on the it's great. I really like that. Make a way for it. Stu.
Really hamming it up as much as possible. Yeah. Another one that's like, so Stuart's the stuff he sent in so far has been like much more sort of lush orchestral arrangement type things of again jazz inflected. But this is like I say, this is a soulful kind of it's really nice to hear just a simple guitar and voice take.
I mean, I think brilliant. Yeah, he said he was just about to make his excuses, and then he just dashed this off, and I think it's great. He should definitely be singing more.
Yep, absolutely. So SMOPH has sent in another take.
Yeah, let's have a listen.
But But in the middle of the night, when the moon shines bright, there's a number of jobs to be done, my brave boys. There's a number of jobs to be done.
So, Jack, you're smitten with this.
I love it, man. Those guitars, just brilliant. You know, I could listen.
Beautiful, isn't it? Yeah.
You know, it's that sort of music I grew up listening to personally, and rock isn't dead. SMOPH is like one woman proof that rock isn't dead. It's brilliant. I could listen to that guitar solo on a loop.
Yeah. But like, lovely tone, lovely chords. Do you know what I think? The lyric content, I don't know, sometimes when you do these tunes it feels like a bit jarring, there's a bit of a juxtaposition there, but this just feels really right in that tone somehow.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, because I also like the guitar solos would not work without the contrast of the singing sections being a bit more laid back, but occasionally you get a little grunt of a guitar or something like that.
Yeah, it's that pull and push, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Loud and quiet. Yeah, because in the guitar solos, though, she's playing the melody, but the bluesiness she pulls out of it is not something anyone else has done.
That's true, yeah.
You know, and also in a playlist of stripped back versions where people are trying to be more personal about what this song is about, SMOPH just, you know, don't bother with that. Just smack it out. And yet that bluesiness that I would never have realised was in the melody really comes out strongly.
No, you're right. And I just think that the whole thing's really nicely constructed. You know, you get a nice satisfying drop, as it were.
Yeah.
Out of those sections into the solo sections, and that just like that perfect like tension release thing. Yeah,
and it's often quite sharp that the going back to the more mellow sections, you're often just sort of like, and it's gone, and you're back into something more mellow, which is a good juxtaposition. But those guitar solos just put such a big grin on my face, and I've really got nothing else to say. I love it.
Yeah, that's fine. I quite agree.
If only we could all play like that. Cool. So up next is Twouke Folks and the Wonky Blokes. This is also under the artist name Chaos Lol, if you're confused. But Twouke, it's Twouke Folks, we've been told. Let's have a listen. Great, we've been sat here with massive grins on our faces all night through that. It's brilliant. So for a bit of context, one of the Wonky Blokes is also doing a series of interpretations of George Formby tunes, which might tell you something about where these guys are coming from. I mean, I think it's brilliant. Maybe it's worth noting, me and Tim, actually, early on when we met, we started a skiffle band, hugely influenced by people like Lonnie Donegan, Bonzo Dog Doodah Band. I'm talking Spike Jones and his City Slickers, the Who's Your Hotshots. It's about as erratic as they come. It's about as irreverent as you can be with the folk song. Brilliant.
Absolutely. I had a nice time.
You think? Do you remember any of the last 6 minutes?
Not coherently, but then I think that's kind of appropriate. It's a beautiful mashup of. I mean, actually, for what it's worth, I think the uke playing is pretty spot on.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. And the vocal harmonies are cool.
It's solid.
Yeah.
There's just like it's like just as soon as you get a grasp on it, it kind of meanders off in another direction.
Yeah, they say here, taking it through ragtime, acoustic gabber, spaghetti western, and glitch wave.
All descriptions that practitioners of those styles would be really satisfied to be associated with, I'm sure.
But like you say, it's really well edited together. The key changes that happen every so often are really smart, the way they're doing it. The use of reverb in the last 30 seconds, I think, is really interesting. There's something where the reverb sort of swells in after the ukulele chord. It's very well put together.
Yeah. You know, I mean, this may be too much, but it's deceptively haphazard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we used to say in the skiffle band, looking like we don't know that we're looking like we're failing, and that's the whole thing, isn't it? Like it was the same with Lonnie Donegan, and yet Spike Jones and his City Slickers used to have their instruments fall apart on stage, but of course it was all planned. Like, you know, it's exactly that. I think it's brilliant. More of this. Cool, we've got 2 takes of Hope House Assemble here, so we'll play a bit of the Roland Microcube dub.
Yeah, so that's an interesting sound, isn't it?
Yeah, a wash, you might call it.
Yeah, anarchic, intentionally taking... It's really interesting having the contrast. They've put the dry mix up as well as this.
Yeah. Yeah, so both are in the playlist, so check them both out for sure.
Yeah.
But they put in the comments of the Roland Microcube version. So what they did is they recorded a dry version, then ran it through a Roland Microcube, and many of us will have had this amp early on. And maxing out the inbuilt effects and re-recording on a phone microphone. I think this comment is interesting. This means the track is ever shifting in unexpected ways, not allowing it to settle, inspired by the lyrics' association with enclosures and sort of this idea that fencing off land is claustrophobic.
Right, yeah, so yeah, being penned in.
Yeah, this track accompanied by the anarchist flag as well.
Yeah, which is interesting because I think the cube dub is quite an uncomfortable listen.
It is, yeah.
Compared with the dry mix, actually, which is a really nice arrangement.
The guitar sounds really bright and lovely on the dry mix,
and there's those really nice gang vocal style things, and then there's the melodica kind of coming in. It's it's almost quite a spirited, joyful arrangement, if anything.
Yeah. But then pushing that joyful arrangement through this tight space of the effects of a microcube.
Yeah. So it's an interesting concept, and I'm glad they've done both versions because I think that really helps to. I think you get the full impact of what they've done.
Yeah. So, last take, John Paiva. Should we have a quick listen?
Yep, sounds good.
Wouldn't buy a farm. How about one farmer's son? I'm an honest working man of worth. My house, my sheep, my dirt, all built on one fine crime. This happy farm of mine.
Cool. So this is a classic rewrite by John Paiva. He's taken the theme and rewritten the story. There's an ominous undertone here, isn't there?
There is. I really like this one. I think he's really played to his strengths.
Yeah.
It's kind of ambiguous, isn't it?
It is ambiguous. He said it was intentionally ambiguous, and you're supposed to sort of decide what you want to make of it. There's 2 voices in the track. When he's singing in that lower voice, that is the Brisk Lad, and then the higher voice in what you might call a chorus is the farmer's son, who he's having this standoff with.
I guess in the difference with having 2 voices is in the tune that this is based on. There is just the one voice. You only get the one voice of the Brisk Lad. So you're left to kind of fill out the gaps of what the context is in. And John's provided an extra context for this one.
Yeah. But what happens in this standoff? Does the farmer's son get killed? Does he get kidnapped? Certainly the livelihood that the Brisk Lad is looking for is not just gotten through the sheep. It is somehow through this farmer's son as well.
I really like the sounds he's used on it as well, actually.
Yeah.
So it starts off fairly standard, just voice and guitar arrangement, and then sort of halfway through the track, you get this really wet sounding bass. Yeah. It kind of really fills out the mix.
Yeah, snarly.
And then it kind of breaks down a little bit as it gets towards the end, and I think that's really that's pretty much what I do.
Yeah.
With most of my arrangements these days. So, yeah, it's great. Great work, John.
So, this month we'll be looking at Geordie, which is your choice. Do you want to tell us about it?
Absolutely. So, Geordie, this is a tune I first heard on the Aeneas Mitchell Jefferson Hamer record Child Ballads.
Yeah.
Named after Francis Child, the collector of folk songs, not children broadly.
Yeah, I didn't get that for ages.
Common thing when you first get into folk music is people start talking about child ballads, and you're like, I'm not interested in kids' songs.
Yeah, not nursery rhymes.
That's it. So you just have to get over that and realise that
Yeah.
he was a guy. He collected some songs, and they're quite famous.
Cool, let's have a listen to it.
As I walked out over London Bridge on a misty morning early, I overheard a fair pretty maid crying for the life of her Geordie. Saddle me a milk-white steed, bridle me a pony, and I'll ride down to London town and I'll beg for the life of my Geordie.
I really wanted to do one from this record because it's a favourite of mine. Especially thinking about modern musicians interpreting folk music. Aeneas Mitchell's a big influence on me. I learned that she looked to English folk music as a source of inspiration, being an American musician. She cites English folk musicians as, Anne Briggs is one of them, as
Right.
real inspirations for her.
Tell us the story of this tune.
If you listen to this version, the lyrics are slightly different from the version that we've put on the sheet.
Yeah.
In all the versions that you'll hear, you'll meet a young woman who is lamenting for her partner who is about to be tried for, usually it's killing some sort of wild deer or swan or something like that, some sort of regal beast.
Yeah.
She then goes down to the courthouse to try and plead, and we learn that he has been condemned.
Yeah.
Generally, the vibe is she's a bit too late. What I love about the Aeneas version is I think she really zeroes in on the kind of desperation of this woman.
Yeah.
So first of all, she kind of arrives at the courthouse and she passes out money, I assume, to sort of ask them to pray.
Yeah, 100 crowns.
100 crowns, that's it.
Who knows how much that is?
I have no idea, because I have no idea how poor she is.
Yeah, it's not clear.
My assumption from these lyrics is that she is quite poor and that she's at her wit's end. I don't know what the legal system was like, but you possibly couldn't afford a good lawyer.
Yeah. Well, certainly as a woman, she probably
Right.
didn't own property. She might not have had control of her own finances.
Right, yeah. The other thing I love about the Aeneas version is it ends with, no, I'm not having that. I'm going to, let's go outside right now. Me and you,
Yeah,
let's go
yeah.
outside. I'll fight you for it.
Yeah.
And that's how it ends. There's the
Bearing child. This is a pregnant woman
Right,
who's
yeah,
saying,
yeah,
I'm going
yeah.
to fight you outside. Yeah, great. Well, I think the interesting thing about this song is that it's not about the man.
Yeah, yes.
Despite being called Geordie, this is about her struggle. This is
Yes.
about a woman's place in defending her family and her husband. So I've got an interesting intercultural twist upon it.
Okay.
I watched a film, Sambizanga, which is an Angolan film set in 1961 at the onset of the Angolan War of Independence, when they were trying to get freedom from the Portuguese colonizers. I would really, really recommend going and watching this film. It's on YouTube, Sambizanga. It's completely free to watch. It's sort of the story of this guy, Domingos Xavier, who was imprisoned, and he was sort of the spark that set off the civil war in Angola. But really, it's the story of his wife.
Right.
And we follow this woman's journey with child to the town, which she's never been before, to try and get her husband free. It's a complete parallel to this story from a completely different part of the world.
Yeah.
This is not a unique story.
No.
This is something that's happened time and again, presumably,
Yeah.
across the world at different times. And it highlights the role of women in political struggles and in times of war.
If you look at depictions of women in folk music, you will often or not often find women as the subject
Yeah.
being necessarily portrayed favourably or honourably.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you're right, it is about the woman. It is about her her struggle and there's something defiant about her.
Her strength and her honour, and
Yeah.
a pregnant woman saying, come outside and fight me.
Yeah,
It's brilliant.
yeah.
that.
Absolutely.
Cool. I'd really like to see some rewritings here. I'm really interested to see what John Paiva does with it. He's done some really good rewritings. Of course, I want to hear a woman's perspective on this tune. So Asymptotes, SMOPH, Cerys, if you're keen to have a go, I'd really love to hear what they add to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Thank you so much for listening. We really hope you've enjoyed this episode of Old Tunes, Fresh Takes. Just a reminder, if you want to take part and learn Geordie along with us, then go and check out our Facebook, Twitter and SoundCloud pages. There you'll find everything you need to get started, including scores, chord sheets and lyrics. Links to these can be found in the description of this episode.
Our next episode is out on the 17th of August, so if you'd like to be included in the podcast, then we're asking you to get your version to us by Monday the 10th of August. That's the 10th of August to get your versions included in the podcast. But if you can't manage that date, then please just send your recordings whenever you can, and we'll continue to share them across our social media pages.
We absolutely always reply to messages and are really keen to make this as easy as possible for you to submit. So whatever stage you're at, get in touch and we'll be happy to provide feedback and advice.
Once again, this is for everyone to take part, regardless of your ability or musical style. We're just looking forward to hearing your fresh takes.